The transfer portal is heating up for Michigan. 5 guys are in the class as of now. You can expect probably 5 to maybe even 10 more. So I took this as an opportunity to somewhat reset the board and take a look at 10 different prospects that Michigan's in on as of right now. Determine where they fall in as far as level of need. What's the chances that they end up in Ann Arbor? Let's talk about those 10 guys here on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. First off, apologies yesterday. For some reason, the sound was fine on my end as far as the upload on YouTube. I know there were some sound issues, at least in the live premiere. I don't know if they got rectified later, but nonetheless, shouldn't be any issue here today unless YouTube just continues to make things hard on us. But let's talk about Michigan's transfer portal of it all, because 5 guys in, Damon Payne officially announced as signed for real this time, just about 15 minutes ago. So that's huge for Michigan. But going down through my Wolverines Wire article of ranking 10 guys as it stands now, here's the thing: is they could get 0 people on this list. I don't think that'll be the case, but certainly I feel like they will get at least 1 or 2 players that are not on this list. People are still entering the transfer portal, right? They have until the 28th to do so, and then they can commit whenever. So don't be surprised if you see some people, that, especially from teams that get eliminated from the playoff tonight or tomorrow, and enter the fray, and then Michigan gets interested, or just other guys make some late additions. There's 2 people on this list that just entered the transfer portal, I believe, yesterday. So, but we can already tell in the early goings that Michigan's in good shape for those that I mentioned. So let's start up at the top of the list. My number 1 player, we count down on Wolverines Wire. We're counting up on Locked On Wolverines. It's Justice Haynes. His probability high, need is high for Michigan. I know a lot of people would say, well, we don't really need a running back. I would beg to differ. You need someone who's got more experience than what Michigan has right now. As much as you want to rely on Jordan Marshall and Ben Hall, Jordan Marshall was injured for the bulk of the year and hasn't really had much time on task. So I think it's absolutely crucial for Michigan to get someone with experience, especially someone that's as talented as Justice Haynes is. You look around the national scene, it doesn't seem like Michigan's mentioned, but they're not getting much credence, which is kind of bizarre to me, considering I feel like he probably entered the portal. Again, no tampering here from my knowledge, but entered the portal with the idea that Michigan was going to be atop his list. The fact that he has a multi-day visit, he's going to be here all weekend, I believe starting tomorrow through Monday. I mean, that's a lot more than what we've seen him have at South Carolina and Ole Miss. And certainly other teams can get involved. They can change things pretty quickly. I have the feeling that Michigan's going to end up with him, and I've had that feeling since well before you even had an idea he wasn't going to be at Alabama. So that's my number 1 guy, because the probability is high and the need is high. The need is not medium or medium high. The need is high for that position, right? Michigan wants to be a solid running team. You see what Chip Lindsey did with Amari and Hampton, and they want to be able to run the ball a lot. And I think that they want someone who's a little bit more experienced and allow Jordan Marshall to reach his potential and use Ben Hall as a change of pace. That's what I believe would probably happen in this. So he is my number 1. We'll go to number 2. It's a guy who just joined the portal yesterday, and that is Fa'alili Fa'amo. I wish that he was on the defensive side of the ball, but he's an offensive tackle. And why do I wish that? Because if he comes to Ann Arbor, I just wish that you could hear Carl Grappentine, because I always love when like Hawaii comes, or like Utah a couple of years ago or a decade ago now, when they come to town, and it's like, I always love like just when someone's named by Carl Grappentine. I have an impression that I'm going to try. It's not going to be very good, but it would be something of the lines of Donovan Edwards was the ball carrier. Fa'alili Fa'matopadamade on the tackle. That's not my best impression. Can't do it on demand. I can't. Anyway, first down, Michigan. The ball will be spotted on the 25-yard line. Anyway, he is the number 22 overall player in the portal after having just entered yesterday, the second best offensive tackle according to 24/7 Sports. No indication of when he's going to visit, I don't believe, but he is going to visit. I think actually I have that wrong in my new article because I'm pretty sure I wrote an article yesterday saying he was visiting. I'm pretty sure. Yes, Michigan football to get a visit from, like, what am I doing? I don't even remember anything. But let's see. Well, has locked in a visit. We don't know when it is, so it's a not yet as far as Fa'amo, I guess is how we're going to go with the name. But I think that Michigan absolutely needs a tackle that can come in and be, I mean, this is a guy that was 2020 class, I think, actually. So he's had some experience. He's got 1 year left. He can be your Miles Hinton of the year, and then you can figure out what to do with the other side, whether you decide to have you decide to go with, I'm just blanking on names all of a sudden. You could have Sprague split out. You could go with the 5-star whose name I can't believe I'm forgetting these things. But nonetheless, there's options that you could then have, and it would just be better, especially if you can get a Josh Thompson and have him go inside and kind of bolster this thing up a little bit, right? Then you're looking at potentially having Fa'amo at left tackle, then Thompson, Crippen, El Hadi, or Link, and then you could choose between Link and myriad options at the right tackle side. I think that he has a medium need because you can subsist without getting him, but I think that there's a high probability he ends up in Ann Arbor. Let's go with one more, and I combine the quarterbacks. Mikey Keene and Daquan Finn. Insiders are reporting it went really well with Daquan Finn, but yet there has not yet been a commitment. Mikey Keene visits this weekend. So there's opportunities there. I know people are going to look at it and say, I don't want Keene because reasons. Like, the dude has been productive and efficient for the most part. He has familiarity with Chip Lindsey's offense, having been at UCF at the same time in 2022. And it was numbers maybe not as impressive as Lewis, who ended up committing to Memphis, or, I mean, even Daquan Finn at Toledo. But I think he would be a solid option, as would Finn. So I don't think it really matters that much because ultimately they're a placeholder for Bryce, who I think has a strong possibility of winning the job outright, if not immediately, but halfway through the season. You're kind of more so building depth than you are getting a high-level starter. And I know there's people complaining about the quarterback of it all. The way that I would say to look at it is there were really only two quarterbacks, maybe three. I'd say three in this entire transfer portal class at this moment that you could look at and say, like, yeah, that's a potential game changer. It was John Mateer, who was never going to come to Michigan. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. And he was obviously going to go to Oklahoma once his offensive coordinator left, which is kind of what prompted him to go to the portal. And then Caden Salter, who ended up going to Colorado, the Liberty quarterback, or Miller Moss, the USC quarterback, who goes to a more secure situation for him at Louisville. So you kind of can't blame him for that. So I think that, there's just not a lot of great options outside of that, right? Like, a lot of the ones that you look at that have kind of gone to like Auburn or elsewhere are guys who have played but haven't necessarily played high level. They might be highly ranked. These are guys who have had multiple years of being able to show that they can be efficient. They can do some things that Finn's able to run more and gives you a little bit more of that dual threat look that you're expecting with Bryce Underwood. But I also wouldn't expect that whoever's the quarterback, Bryce Underwood included, they're not going to be like Jalen Milroe. They're not going to have 15 carries a game. I don't think. Maybe they do, but I don't think that they will. So I made both of these high probability, high need. But I made it number 3 because I don't think it's necessarily as dire as some of the other places here on the board. All right, we're going to continue on. We've got 7 left to get to outside of my 2 for 1 there. So we'll get to that here in just a moment. But before we do, did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That's definitely happened to me. And when I was trying to get my mortgage through Rocket Mortgage, I used Rocket Money to kind of help me figure out some stuff. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. Brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and have saved up to a total of 500 million canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore. I've also used it to help negotiate some different things with some of the subscriptions I had. I've saved a ton. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing about budgeting every month. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, we're going to continue here in just a moment. But before we do, the college football playoff is here, as is college basketball, NFL action, comedy, theater, and more. And Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it's the perfect gift. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all of the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. With curated deals, the super deals, steep views right in the app so that you know exactly what you'll be looking at when you get to the venue. There's no better option than Game Time for all your event ticketing needs. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply, but create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, we got plenty more to get to here as far as we got 7 more players. Let's see if we can do 4 here in segment 2. Speed it along a little bit. All right, we got the 5th best interior offensive lineman in Josh Thompson. Fentonian used to be my enemy. My sworn enemies were Fentonians, but I am one now. So I'm looking at you, Holly. You're my enemy now. Maybe you were when I was growing up there too. I don't know. He visited earlier this week. He's the number 63 overall in the transfer portal rankings on 24/7 Sports. High probability he ends up, medium high need. I say medium high because, again, they do need offensive linemen. They did get Brady Norton. I think he's probably going to take a year or two. That he's not a 1 year come in and, he's not a one and done like some of these others. Josh Thompson is a guy that can be another Josh Preeb in a lot of ways. The Joshes from Northwestern, they come and they do well. It appears that this is between Michigan and a couple SEC schools. It sounds like MSU, Ohio State are out and everything. So we'll just see. But I think the pull to home is going to be too much to overcome for other schools. That's what my thought is. So we'll see, though, because there's times where you've thought like, oh, they're looking at the Gunnar Hansen from Vanderbilt or was Jordan White from Liberty, I think it was, and they end up elsewhere. So they obviously want to bolster the line, and I know the line wasn't that great this year, but keep in mind, like we've seen like Giovanni Alhadi play well, just not necessarily consistently this year. And so it's like there's a higher ceiling than what we've seen this year, which was somewhere above the floor, but maybe not so far above it. So I think like, yeah, you do want to get guys. You've got other guys, though, that if push comes to shove, you feel like maybe you can mold them into something. But we'll see. Next on my list is Max Clare, the tight end from Purdue. He's the top tight end in the transfer portal, number 30 overall in 24/7 Sports. He visited earlier this week. But the probability and need medium, that's a loaded room Michigan has. I think with Andrew Olesh ending up flipping to Penn State, that makes it a little bit higher. But you do have, obviously, you still have Marlon Klein. You'll have Hogan Hansen, Brady Prieskorn if he gets healthy, Deacon Tonielli, Zach Marshall. I mean, there's a lot of guys in that room that are going to be, and Max Bredesen if he comes back as well, that are going to be able to be utilized. But he's a guy that's got better than Colston Loveland production this last year. To me, Louisville is the biggest competition because it's got Jeff Brom, a pass-happy offense that's a little bit more established, even with new players. And so he kind of can, he already knows Jeff Brom and what he brings to the table, having been there. So it's one of those things where I think that's the one to look out for. Ohio State is trying to get in on this. And that also can be a little bit scary, but at the same time, if all things are equal, like, why would you be a tight end that goes to Ohio State right now over Michigan or even Jeff Brom, Louisville? To me, that doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense, but you never know. But I feel okay about it, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of intel coming out about what he's going to do when he decides to do it and all of that. All right, so the next one I have is Deuce Robinson. At the wide receiver from USC. I have his probability as low, but the need is obviously high. Both Sam Webb and Josh Henschke have reported, and now EJ Holland as well, have all reported that Michigan has reached out to him. He's got a on-3 industry ranking prediction, whatever you want to call it, recruiting prediction machine prediction. It doesn't roll off the tongue the same way 24/7 Sports Crystal Ball does. He's got a prediction by Pete Nakos that he'll end up at his father's alma mater, Florida State. He is currently visiting there. There doesn't seem to be any indication that Robinson is going to visit Michigan, just that there's been contact made. If I'm Michigan, I go all out on him more so than Zachariah Branch. That's what I would do. He's 6'6". He's a guy who could play tight end, but obviously he's going to be more of a receiver. That's what he was at USC. He's the number 5 overall, third-rated wide receiver in the country in the transfer portal. So I would go all out there. I mean, to try to convince him to not go to, now Michigan doesn't really do the negative recruiting thing, but I'd be like, why would you want to go to Florida State? Like, I understand we had a 7-5 year, but like they just went right? Like they won one game. I know they're trying to turn things around, but they won one game. We're building this up. We're making this something here, making sure I'm not missing anything there. So I would go all in for him, but I think the probability is very low. He still makes my list relatively higher on my list because the need is high. And he's one of the few that I think you can kind of point your finger at and say, all right, he is someone that Michigan is clearly looking at. All of the, not from my own intel, but all of the recruiting services are all saying basically the same thing. Michigan's reached out. There seems to be some reciprocity, but it also doesn't necessarily look good for Michigan. All right, we'll finish out this segment with the last one from this part. I don't want to say, I don't know why I'm saying the last one. It's not the last guy. It would be Emmanuel Carnley, the cornerback from Arizona. Last time we did a show like this, we talked about Dakario Davis's teammate. Carnley is 6'4". Michigan. He is visiting Michigan this weekend, so that's another opportunity to really make it, put your stamp on this, make an impact. So I think that could be a really good scenario for the Wolverines. Here's the thing. The need is somewhat medium at cornerback. I know they want a cornerback, but if you have Zeke Berry coming back and playing outside, you've got, still, if you're able to retain Jair Hill and Josiah Edmond, and you've got Shamari Earls coming in. It doesn't feel necessarily as dire, but obviously you want to add to this room and get like a kind of a surefire starter, or at least a surefire guy that can rotate with those guys. So I think that they're going to kind of go all in with this one, and I think that the probability is high. The need is medium to medium high for him, however, but it's pretty clear they want a corner. They're going after him. He's visiting this weekend. This is an opportunity to close the deal. I wouldn't be surprised coming out of the weekend if there's like 3 commitments coming out of it. All right, we're going to continue with the last 3 on my list. We're going to do that here in just a moment. But before we do, it's that time of the year. The college football playoff is back. And with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting, and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st. That's tomorrow, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into our first matchup, the SMU Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. All right, we're going to continue on here in just a moment, but before we do, listen, every time, it's like every Friday I wear this jacket. And every Friday I get asked, where do you get this jacket? And that tells me you people aren't paying attention, and it makes me angry. Because I tell you every single time, I got this jacket from Homefield Apparel. Homefield is a premium collegiate apparel company based out of Indianapolis. There's no place I'd rather get my Michigan gear from. With a retro modern style, Homefield scours every school's history to find those amazing, unique designs that you're going to love and really stand out. They've recently launched some amazing sweaters. They've got these coaches jackets, heavyweight tees. You can still get their can't miss kickoff bundle. I have that. The bomber jackets like this one. They've got several others, but this one's the coolest, the national championship one, easily. So it was just restocked in time for the holidays. I don't know if you can still get it, but it was last time I checked, still available. So go to homefieldapparel.com. Use my code GOBLUE24 to get 15% off of your first order. That's homefieldapparel.com. Promo code GOBLUE24 to get 15% off of your first order. Homefield Apparel, just the coolest college gear anywhere. All right, let's finish up. 3 more players. One of them visited this week, and it is Troy Bowles, son of Todd Bowles, linebacker at Georgia. He's not really high in the transfer portal ranking because he hasn't really played. He didn't really play at all last year. The number 253 overall, 15th best linebacker. Probability, I have medium high. Need medium because it kind of, again, depends. Like, you've still got, Ernest Hausman. They're going to move Jayshon Barham out to edge, supposedly. But you still got Jimmy Rolder and Cole Sullivan and, some other guys that absolutely, Jason Hewlett. So it would be kind of more of a depth building scenario, right? Like, assuming that you're keeping all of those guys I just mentioned. But, you lost some guys too. And Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng is a guy who can play right away. Chase Taylor maybe is going to be a little bit more developmental. But he's a guy that could absolutely be in the mix. And I think that that's kind of more what you're looking at. But he visited this week. Seems like there's good interest. We'll see what happens from there. This guy should be much higher on my list. I just want to wait to find out more here. And that is on Washington State defensive tackle David Gusta. Me gusta. That's going to be the thing. But he has not yet visited. There has been contact already. I would say the probability is medium because he's getting tons of attention already too. Need is somewhat medium high, even though I kind of like the room right now. They got Damon Payne. You assume Rayshawn Benny's coming back. No need if you got Kenneth Grant coming back, but I don't think that's going to happen. Before people yell at me, every time I say, like, I don't think this will happen, but don't be surprised if they try. And people are like, you sweet summer child. They are not getting Kenneth Grant. I'm like, when did I say that they were going to? But he's the second best defensive tackle in the portal, number 52 overall. You would be looking at a scenario of Rayshawn Benny, Damon Payne, David Gusta, Ike Iwunnah, Trey Pierce, Eno Etta. You could maybe move Eno back outside. And, let the freshmen come along. I mean, that would be a dream scenario for Michigan. Probability is medium, though, because to me, it feels like it's getting a little crowded, and it just feels like, there's probably more of a likelihood that a guy that's got as much, not even potential, but just ability and has done it, a veteran guy. Like, I just feel like with what Michigan's got, even though you're trying to replicate what you've had the last couple of years. And that can bode well, right? Because you can be like, well, for a couple of first-round guys and Mason and Kenneth, and we've seen some of these others, do really well. Chris Jenkins. I think that can be the big selling point, but the playing time might not be there as much, but you got to sell them on that. So we'll see. Wouldn't surprise me if you get Faili Fama, if that helps with Gusta. Right? Just to be like, hey, both of us, let's go do this. So, but we'll see. Last one on my list, and I know y'all will hate it that it's last on my list, is Zachariah Branch. Branch, to me, the more it became clear that he and Zion Branch are going to be a package deal, I feel like that hurt the cause. Michigan was mentioned as one of the 5 schools right out the gates, and he has got a no contact tag, looking for a Jordan school, so there's that. Although he and Zion are visiting Georgia, that's not a Jordan school, it is a Nike school. So to me, that just feels like his price tag is going to be higher than what Michigan's going to really want to pay. I know there were rumors of $4 million that seems like it came from a troll account, so I don't know how, what that's all about. But it's the fact that they've already gotten a safety in this class, and Metcalf, The safety is the one room that's kind of like pretty bolstered between the recruiting class and getting Metcalf in it. You get Rod Moore back potentially. So that kind of makes it a harder sell. But obviously, if you really like Zachariah Branch, you take his brother. But I just feel like it's probably trending away from Michigan. But again, I'm not really seeing a lot of the national guys really say much about any of these prospects, right? Like you see when it comes to like Max Clare, they're talking about Ohio State. You see Josh Thompson, they're talking about Tennessee, and I think, I can't remember, is it Ole Miss or Auburn? You look at Justice Haynes, they're talking about South Carolina, right? Like it just doesn't feel like any of these guys are being connected to Michigan, and Michigan's going to end up, I would imagine, I would put money on it, they're going to end up with a couple of the guys on my list. They might end up with a lot of the guys on the list. They might end up with just one or two. That's the thing. It's hard to really tell with transfer portal at the moment because it's just accelerated recruiting. And this is what I want to try to remind you of over the last week. It's different than regular recruiting because you just do not have the element of time on your side, right? Like you can build relationships with guys as recruits, years before, and they're not, they're going to visit campus. It's not going to be the first time the first time isn't going to be the last time rather. You don't have to really just try to get everything all in order whereas like you get your transfer portal visit, that's your shot, man. And if they visit somewhere else and then they're like, I like this a lot, and they get a hard push from the staff, then that might be it, right? I mean, heck, look at Damon Payne. He was in the portal for like 2 days, didn't even make any visits, planned on making visits, but never made any visits. It can change. I mean, it can just wrap it up in a hurry. Brady Norton visited Michigan, and at the tail end of him visiting, got an Ohio State offer and was committed 45 minutes later, right? Like, so it goes both ways. And you hope that the guys that are visiting this weekend, if Michigan really wants them, it can close on them. And some of the others like that maybe don't have visits in the cards, like either just find a way to get them on campus or sell them right away. I don't know. NIL can play a big part of that. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Next week, who knows how that week is going to go. We will try to have 4 episodes, maybe 5 next week, but don't expect them all to be on the weekdays. Don't be surprised if we have a Christmas Day show. I might even bet on that we'll have a Christmas Day show. We will not have a show on Thursday because not only am I traveling, but I've got to drive because I'm flying into Orlando and then driving to Tampa and then dropping off a rental car and then getting to the hotel, all that stuff. But don't be surprised if we have, Friday, Saturday, that type of deal. And we'll try to take care of you during the bowl week. Next week is going to be after that is going to be equally weird. As I start kind of a vacation, I might just take a couple days off. Might be how that goes. Okay, but we'll see. Depends on what's going on after the bowl game. All right. Anyway, that'll do it for us today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will be back on Monday, regardless. My grandmother's birthday. Peace.